Hi, I'm Cahill with Gink and Gasoline. I'm up in New York fishing for steelhead, and I'm going to show you guys how to tie a steelhead bullet jig. These are great flies for steelhead. When you fish them, I'll sometimes use them for weight in front of an egg pattern, and I'll let the flies swing at the end of the drift, and the fish will often take them right on the end of the swing. Most important thing when you're tying on jig heads is to get a really good high quality jig head. I like these Super Jig high-tech. These have really strong hooks on them. Most jig heads have crappy hooks that straighten out, and that's a real drag. I'm going to use some pink uni thread. The pattern I'm going to tie is in pink and white. And that's really about all there is to it. This jig head is a 1/16 ounce. So you start just by wrapping a little thread onto the hook, and you don't want to wrap back very far. Just about 1/4 of an inch will do fine. All right, and we'll snip that off. And then we're going to take a little puff of hot pink marabou. You just want to dress this stuff out nice and lay it up on top of the hook. Cinch it down with a couple of wraps. And then trim off the excess. And then wrap that up down all nice and smooth back up to the jig head. One of the things that really seems to make the steelhead key in on these things is a two-tone pattern. And so what I like to do is tie pink and white. I find is really successful. And so now that I've tied this pink marabou in, what I do is I take a piece of white marabou, hold it by the tip, and stroke it back. All right. And I'm going to tie this in by the tip so that I can then palmer it around the hook shank. Put a couple of strips on that, and then I'll just pull the tip back and secure it. So once you've got that, you can get your hackle pliers, lock them on the stem, and just bring it around. As you bring this around, you want to stroke that marabou back so that it doesn't lay over itself. All right, so that it lays out nice on the hook. And you want to just palmer this all the way up to the jig head. You don't have to worry too much about having a bunch of marabou to add buoyancy to this fly, because with a 1/16 ounce lead jig head, it is going to find the bottom. That's one thing you need to keep in mind when you're fishing this fly. You got to watch these guys around snags. They love to get down on the bottom and break off, and you will lose several of them in a day. So make sure when you sit down and tie them, you tie up plenty so that you have what you need. All right, once you get back to the jig head, and just bring your thread around a couple of times to lock that in and trim it nice and close. Another trick that I do, we're not doing here in the video because it takes time, is I like to paint these jig heads. I like to paint them orange so they look like an egg. I find that works really well. What you have to do is you have to prime them first. I use like an automotive spray primer. Works really well, and then paint them with orange nail polish. And that's a really good look, and the fish seem to key in on it. See how this is nice? You see the pink kind of through the white. When it gets in the water, it's got nice action. So since I'm not painting the jig heads, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of this orange cactus chenille, and I'm just going to catch that in right here behind the jig head and just give it a couple of turns of that. So that will give the look of that orange egg. There's salmon up here spawning in these rivers out of the Great Lakes, and there are brown trout up here spawning, and there's all kinds of roe around, so the steelies will key in on that. That's a nice little trigger for them, that color. And a little sparkle doesn't hurt either. The rivers have been a little dingy, so anything bright that gets their attention is good. And then I'm just going to whip finish this guy. And tie it off. So try this fly out next time you're out fishing for steelies. It's a great fly if you're nymphing for fish. It also works really well on the swing. It's a good fly for getting down to the bottom where the fish are, which is frequently the most important thing in the steelhead game. I hope this helps you out. I hope you catch some big fish. Come see us at ginkandgasoline.com.